Hello, everyone. Welcome to Connections with Shawnta Jackson. This is our opportunity as professionals to make the most out of professional networking, career development, career advancement, and business growth via unscripted, live, unedited chats with like-minded individuals. I actually recruit my guests from LinkedIn, even though we sometimes in the past we have had the opportunity to work together already, and some of these are just fresh, brand new connections. And my next guest, I'm originally from Las Vegas, Nevada, and so is she, but we connected on LinkedIn a few years ago, and as public health professionals, we've had the opportunity to connect and collaborate on various initiatives. And at this time, I'll bring on public health consultant, also known as a public health servant leader. Her name is Alisa Howard. And everyone at this time, please welcome Alisa. Hey, lady.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for taking the time to chat with me. I know you're taking a break from your busy day, and we got started a little late because you were in a meeting, and that's perfectly okay, and I understand.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you're a 9-year public health consultant, and tell us a little bit about your background and then why you refer to yourself as a public health servant leader.
Sure. So, public health was not my field of choice, if you could believe that or not. A lot of people go directly to school for public health. I had actually never heard of public health in my entire life. I had a career path like most people do when they're kids. I wanted to be a writer. My parents told me there's no money in that. So I said, well, I love Ally McBeal and Murder, She Wrote, so I'll be a lawyer. And I went towards that path and kind of got derailed a little bit, but got back on the horse of graduating high school, going to college, starting community college, and started taking classes and just started, exploring the world like most people do, and started really loving psychology, really loving human behavior. I still had this, I have to be a lawyer. I have to be a lawyer because that's what I've been telling everyone, right? And so I did that. I went the easy route. Actually, I stopped at paralegal and I said, you know what, let me take some law classes to make sure that that's really what I want to do. Took a paralegal course, loved it. So I ended up getting a paralegal studies degree from College of Southern Nevada, and started working with attorneys. And I can honestly say that it was not what I thought it would be. It was not TV at all. It was not fun. I did not feel like I was doing the best help that I could do for someone. As a paralegal, you basically help the attorney do everything. You pretty much are the attorney just without the license. They get to go to court and fight all the cases. You're typing and writing up everything. So that's where my writing came back in place. But then I said, there's something missing here. Like, I'm not helping people the way I want. So I went back to school. I loved that psychology class that I first took. So I said, let me continue in that. I ended up getting my psychology degree, and a friend called and said, hey, there's a part-time job at the Office of Public Health for the state of Nevada. I know you're in school. Do you want a part-time job? And I said, okay, I can always use some money, right? I walked into the office and I did the interview, and they were telling me about tuberculosis, and I'm like, what? I had never heard. I heard of tuberculosis, but how old was I? About 31. I said, tuberculosis, hasn't that been eliminated? And they all just laughed, and they saw my resume that I write, that I was a paralegal. They know what paralegals do. And so they said, you know what? You would be great for our tuberculosis policy and procedure writer position that we have, actually not the part-time position that you came in for. And that's how my public health career started. And from there, I really got to see how I could be of service to my community and just to people in general through public health. And so that is kind of where my public health servant leader title that I use comes from, is because I really want to serve other people. And like Christ, I feel like you have to serve in order to lead.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Alisa. Thanks for sharing. And we have a lot of similarities, different paths, but the social and behavioral health, that's my concentration. Your psychology. You work as a paralegal with lawyers. I actually have a contract now that I've had for about almost 2 years now, where I'm working with a group of attorneys and advocates on some social justice issues here in the state of Maryland. And so it's just interesting how you connect with people and just what you have in common.
Yeah.
Speaking of connections, you and I mentioned in the introduction, we're both from Las Vegas, born and raised. However, we never crossed paths.
Right.
But we connected on LinkedIn.
Yes. And then we found out that we had a mutual friend, and it was history from there. It's so weird, right? I connected with you and you're all the way in Maryland.
Yes, and we've had the opportunity to work together. Everyone, Cause Engagement Associates, my business, has its own YouTube channel, and I believe it's on there. You and another woman from Massachusetts, you facilitated a webinar, a professional development webinar for Cause Engagement on community health workers.
Yes.
And so just really quick, my public health experience, I knew nothing about public health. I was a real estate agent, a loan officer, had a bachelor's degree in public relations. I wanted to have these C-suite clients, and I wanted to offer them something. So I knew I had to go back to school to get my master's, but I didn't know what I wanted to get my master's in. I was reading The Economist magazine on an airplane, and I was looking in the classifieds because that's where I was going to advertise one day, in The Economist magazine. And they also would have various positions and professional higher education opportunities, advertisements in the back. And so I read this job description at the World Health Organization. And I said, that's what I want to do. That right there. So that's how I learned about public health.
That's funny. I never knew that about you. I never knew you had I knew you had the public relations background, but I never knew that story. The journey is so funny, right? We have our life set out, or our parents have our life set out, and we just go towards that path because that's what we think until we become ourselves and realize what we want to do. Our life journey is just really funny.
Yes, and so psychology, paralegal, but your passion is writing.
Yes.
We'll talk a little bit about the writing, but just tell us about what you do now. So you started off in tuberculosis, and I know you've had experience doing diabetes and now COVID-19. So where are you at today in your career with public health?
Oh my goodness. I wrote out a public health media kit the other day, and it really just showed me kind of like all the things that I've done. And I was like, wow, I've done all of that. 9 years just went by so fast. I'm a community health worker instructor at the College of Southern Nevada. So I went back to the school that I actually got my two associates from. I have a communications associates as well. I just couldn't leave the school. And so I kept taking classes, but I went back. Now I'm back there teaching. It's so surreal. And I love community. And what I've learned about public health is that I love community health work. That's the part about public health. And I also love infectious diseases. And so my writing kind of comes in both of those things. I get to use my writing throughout my career. So, I used to, feel some type of way about, I'm not writing, like as far as books and getting my books out. But I'm like, I'm writing every single day. So actually I'm using all of my gifts. So I use community health work to teach students, to teach the public about how to go out and help others, right? Because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. It's all of us coming together and helping each other. And so I love that piece of it. And I love just the interaction with people, getting to know who they are, what challenges they have, and the resources that I can connect them with. So I do community health work myself. I teach it, and I also do it. And so I'm doing a little bit of everything. I'm doing infectious diseases like COVID-19. I've been certified in diabetes from Dignity Health as a coach. Diabetes is not my passion, but I have that coaching certificate. But it's good to just know about these things. Even if it's not your passion, it's good to just add it to your wheelhouse. As far as knowledge is concerned, I'm very big on knowledge. And I'm doing HIV. I've been in HIV for over probably 5 to 6 years of my career. HIV has been part of that. Tuberculosis and then COVID comes into that because they're all infectious diseases. And I'm really fascinated by how viruses come on the planet and how they work and how they get into the body. That's, I guess, the science geek in me. I'm not sure, but I really love that piece of it. And then just talking to people, just really getting out into the community and seeing how can I meet their needs.
And you have your consulting company, Minority Health Consultants. And could you tell us a little bit about some of the projects you have now, and how do you go about getting clients?
Sure. So I don't do much advertising. My advertising is me. It's social media. It's literally just me posting about what I'm doing. I figured, you know what, who's the best to tell my story? So I kind of use that as my marketing. How I get clients, it comes by word of mouth, literally. I've really been blessed in this area because I know that that's not the normal way to do business. That's not normally how that works. Usually you have to do a bunch of advertising, pay a lot of money for marketing. But I can honestly say that because I'm born and raised here and I know a lot of people, people know what I do and they like the passion that I bring to my work. And so people will call me or email me and just say, hey, I heard about you doing this. Could you do this for us as well? So I got a lot of work that way. Recently, I just added public policy, health policy, really, to my repertoire. And so I've been working on the the Nevada 81st legislation session, and it just ended May 31st. And when I say that I give my hats off to the senators and assembly people and the policy people that do this work every single day, I don't know how they do it and are not crazy. I only did it for 120 days for one session and for only maybe about 3 to 4 bills. And they do it sometimes for 5 to 6, sometimes 10 bills. They are the real heroes. I can honestly say that that field is really interesting to see the interaction between public health and policy. I really wanted to jump into that space because what I saw was that, hey, I'm helping from this level, which is the community level, but I want to know what happens up here and where the rules and the laws are coming from that come down to this level. And so I really got to see that process. And that is what really makes me feel like I'm really doing the public servant leadership work, because now I'm helping with the actual laws that are going to go into place that affect what's going to happen down here.
Okay. Well, I have a few questions about your growth, your career growth, and your professional development. But before I do, I'd like to check in. And let's see who's watching. We have Brendarius Johnson from Las Vegas, and he says, keep up the good work. And then we have Christy McGee. She's in Monroe, Louisiana, and she says psychology, public administration that's what she has her degree in, but her passion is fashion and consulting. And then she has a little emoji like that, you know. And then she also says divine connections when we were talking about how we were connected. But yeah, that's how life is sometimes. So sometimes life is, you know what? I'm not even gonna say how life is. I'll speak for myself. I've decided that I'm just gonna live my life and do whatever it is that I want to do. And I am a professional, and everything that I have done, all of my connections, all of my life experiences, all of my professional experiences have prepared me for where I am now, and I provide value in whatever space that I am in. And as far as your comment, as it relates to marketing, actually for consultants, I find that that's pretty normal from success. When I first started consulting, I would reach out to senior consultants for mentoring, and I would ask about advertising, and all of the advice that I would get, or their feedback, was that, you know, it's pretty much just me and my work speaks for itself. I'm building relationships. I have a good reputation. And for me personally, I have a lot of repeat business. Mm-hmm. But I guess it all depends on what type of consultant you want to be, because sometimes you can, and it's perfectly fine. I know a consultant who is retired, and she was able to retire from her consultancy. She did her own financial planning, tax planning, and so she prepared herself for that over the years. So she was, and that was fine, and she didn't have any employees. Yeah. But then there's the consulting scene, the agency, the firm, and that's more so of my model. And so what I do is, and I've said this before on previous broadcasts, is that I contract and I partner with other consultants such as yourself. So everyone, Alisa Howard is an associate consultant of Cause Engagement Associates, and vice versa. I am an associate consultant with Minority Health Consultants as well. And so instead of me being that individual consultant and being available for all of the clients, I prefer to focus on sales and marketing, getting the clients, getting the business, just kind of managing, making sure the deliverables are okay. I step in as needed, but I prefer to delegate. Yeah.
And so that's a really great point, because there may be someone watching that wants to go into consultant work, and it looks so different for everyone. It just depends on what you want. I've been a director of an HIV program before. I had to write job descriptions and hire and manage, right? And I said, I never want to do that again. Some people they literally go into life saying, I want to be a manager. I want to, it's just maybe a leadership thing that they feel like, I don't know what that's all about, but I did not enjoy it. I like the people that I hired. We still talk to this day, but just that whole everyday mundane, people calling in and the work not getting done. I'm just not about all of that. I like doing the work. I want to be involved in the work. I used to go with my HIV navigators to the actual, parks. If we're doing HIV testing in the homeless community, I would go with them. I would put my chucks on and go with them. And they're like, what are you doing out here? And I'm like, I want to be a part of this work. But for that HIV director position, they wanted me to be at the office writing reports, sitting behind a desk. And that's just not me all the time. I need both. I need both to be able to balance myself.
Yes, and that's understandable. And like you said, there are people watching, and there also are people watching who are interested in public health, in the field of public health. Could you maybe give some advice to those individuals based off of your path and how you are helping to develop and support the public health workforce?
Sure. A lot of people that have a public health bachelor's or master's don't like when I say this, but you don't have to go to school to get your public health degree. I just have to say that. I'm sorry. I can only speak my truth that I did not go through public health path. I don't want a master's in public health. When I get my master's, it won't be in that. It'll probably be in some type of human behavior, maybe even psychology again. But that's just not the path that I want to take. I feel like there's more to people than just learning about the structure of public health. And I think when you understand people, you understand the systems a little bit better, and people know that about me. And I believe that's why I get hired. So if you are looking to go into public health, absolutely look for public health degrees. I'm not knocking them at all, but also look within and see what your passion is. My passion was psychology. My passion was writing. And now I get to do both in my career. And so I would say look for what you want to do. Just like Shawnta said, be you, find who you are, and go in that path, in that direction. Maybe you need to pick up a Economist magazine or a Psychology Today magazine, and maybe there'll be something in there that says, here's a public health track, or here's this way to do this. But my path was not narrow or straight. It was very woo, all over the place. And I just found myself here loving it. And so I would say, look into what it is that you actually want to do with yourself. If it's fashion, like Christy said, look into how fashion can intertwine with public health, if that's something that you want to do. Or maybe you just want to get out of public health altogether and go to fashion. Whatever it is, I'm all about being who you are, because that's truly how you're going to be happy in this world. Just going in the route that the world tells you to go in, or the route your parents tell you to go in, is not going to make you happy. So find the things that make you happy.
And we have Etna Jenkins checking in from Prince George's County. She says hello. And when you were speaking, she says a willing heart and compassion is needed. And also to be open to opportunities presented to you.
Absolutely.
And on YouTube, we actually have a question. I'll allow you to respond first, Alisa. Okay. So the question is from Jay Spence. I have a master's in healthcare administration. How can I break into doing my own business as it relates to standards in patient care?
Wow, that is a consultancy business right there. Literally, he just wrote his business plan. Healthcare specialists and healthcare administration is so needed, and people need administrators. People like to hire consultants, first of all, because they don't have to pay their healthcare insurance. They get tax credits and things of that nature, and you're probably a 1099, so it works for the business. So I would market yourself as a healthcare specialist. And market yourself to the hospitals, to FQHCs, which is federally qualified healthcare centers, for those that don't know that, and market yourself to even nonprofits who have healthcare or have a public health component to their nonprofit. Such as when I worked for a nonprofit out here, we had an HIV program, even though they weren't a medical nonprofit, but they needed someone that could come in that had the public health or the healthcare background that could help them build that program. So you can either start developing programs for them, be that healthcare person for them, or you can just be a consultant to the hospitals or the clinics where they hire you based off of their need. Maybe you go in and work on systems. There's so many different ways to be a consultant. So I would say look into those things first. If there's something that, made you smile or something like, oh yeah, I like that, then look into that thing, research that area and see where you can go with it.
Thanks, Alisa. And in addition to your feedback, so I'm going to mute you. I hear just a little echo.
Okay.
And so Jay is actually, her pronouns are she, her, her. So Jay is a she. She says, I'm a lady. And so Jay, in addition to what Alisa said, I don't know much about you just from this comment as far as what your experience is in or how much experience you have in the actual field. And I can just tell you what I did. I decided to become a consultant when I was working full-time. I was working full-time in the field of public health, and I knew 2 months in that that wasn't the job for me, but I stayed there for 4 years. And what I did, I started consulting on the side. And I actually teamed up with senior consultants, and they were my clients. And so it would be people who were more seasoned, who already had the contracts, who needed the support. So kind of like the model that I talked about, how I get the contracts and I can do the work, but I like to hire other consultants, whether they're senior or junior consultants. So that's one way to kind of get yourself in the field and to get comfortable and to learn how to consult. But then also, so there's like business decisions that you have to research and find out too. Are you going to serve as a sole proprietor? I don't know what state you live in. A sole proprietor, are you going to register as an LLC, a single member LLC? Are you going to have a partnership? And if you are an LLC, do you want to be taxed as a sole proprietor? That's how the IRS will see you if you're a single member LLC. However, you also have the option as an LLC to be taxed as a S Corp. But then there's different tax deadlines and more preparation for that. So those are some things that you have to consider and think about what the annual fees will be for your renewal in your state. So think about just kind of like that business structure. And then as far as getting business, definitely in addition to your resume, I would develop a capabilities statement. And Alisa, she mentioned it earlier, and she said media kit, that she was doing her public health media kit. But your capability statement, you can go online and you can search, see what they are. And Jay, based off of your appearance, you look like a Black woman to me, or a woman of color. So also consider your MBE certification. Minority Business Enterprise. You can do that. Usually it's with your state Department of Transportation, but there are some national and local organizations that can help you with that certification. And basically that certification is just saying that you are indeed a woman-owned or Black-owned or minority-owned business or veteran-owned business, and you're not a front for a company who is not a woman, who is not a minority, or who's not a veteran. And you can have those different designations. Then also go to the Small Business Administration, SBA.gov. They also they have resources there for you as well. But as far as getting business, you can look at you can register with your local county and your state, their public health department, or just the state in general. And they have a portal for procurement. And sometimes they have announcements that you can just really submit a bid. You just have to just read all the fine lines, submit the bid. Again, you can find other consultants or other consultancy agencies and saying, hey, I'm interested in some freelance work. Do you have anything available? I'll stop there. And Alisa, do you have anything else to add?
And I would say network, just like we're doing here with Shawnta. Networking is so important. I can honestly say that I would not have a business and I would not be in business if I did not network prior to me even starting my business. I'm just a person that loves talking to other people and finding out what it is that they do. Like, what do you do? What do you do? And I like talking about that kind of stuff. But even if you're not that type of person, even if you're an introvert, get on boards, advisory boards, even if they're not paid boards, even if they're not full boards, get on advisory boards, such as I'm on the Nevada Minority Health and Equity. I was a proxy advisory board member to the chair for a couple of years. Now I'm in good with the Minority Health Office, right? Because they see that I've brought value as a proxy person. I didn't just get on the calls or go to the meetings and just sit there. I actually added value to what they were saying. I told my side of the story from the community viewpoint of what they were trying to do or work on, or a project they wanted to start. And so that actually brought value to my work. And so now I kind of get those, hey, heads up type of calls. This is coming down the way, all of these type of things. So I would say network. I would say really look into the area that you want to be in, and then get on those type of advisory boards. Submit applications. I'm on the NACHWA, which is National Association for Community Health Workers. Literally, because I teach community health work, I started searching for community health work stuff, and it's all around the country. And I saw that there was a national association coming out. They had on their actual website, they said, hey, we're looking for policy advisory board members. I put in my application, and now I'm on there. I've been on there for the last year and a half. And so I would say really do that work, but also network with other people. Like Shawnta really brings value to my business because I will call her and ask her questions and say, girl, how did you do this? Or how did you do that? Like, she's talking about the MBE. She's told me about that before. She's like giving me literally like, here's the link. That really helps, being in touch with other people who have maybe been in business longer than you, or even if they haven't been in business longer than you, they just know a little bit more because they're doing a little bit more research, or they've already, gone down the path of following mentors that have told them some things. So I would say networking is your biggest way that you're going to get business.
Yeah, and just know that it takes time, and don't overcommit.
Yes.
Don't overcommit yourself, and be okay with saying, no, I'm not available right now, or I was available and this is not the roles and expectations. I should have done a better job of being more clear or having a better understanding of what the roles and expectations were. And so with that said, I would like to propose these new roles or I would like to withdraw. And that's okay. And it happens. Jay, she says great information and it was much needed. And thank you. And thank you, Jay, for watching and for being brave enough to ask the question and helping to guide this conversation. And that's what it's all about. Connections with Shawnta Jackson. Again, we're about professional networking, career development, career advancement, and business growth with conversations with like-minded individuals. And so, Alisa, I appreciate you. And in the chat, we have a few more comments. So definitely, Edna Jenkins, she says that SBA has a lot of resources available. And Christy said, yes, develop that capability statement. And then also the MBE Minority Business Enterprise certification to look into that as well. And Alisa, so you're not interested in receiving your master's in public health or a PhD on that trajectory as far as the education and training goes. But you're in the field of public health and you're working with public health professionals. How are you developing? Like, what are you doing for personal development, or excuse me, professional development?
So I'm not interested in, I just want to make that clear. I do want a master's degree. I've decided that over the last year with the pandemic that I think I do want a master's degree, only because my retirement plan is going to involve teaching adjunct professorship at a higher level. Right now with my bachelor's, I can only teach at College of Southern Nevada. I want to go to universities. So that's the only reason why I'm going to get a master's. I feel like I learn every single day. I am not the type of person to sit around. I read books all the time. I'm reading one right now about being a girl boss, how to network, how to manage your business, how to manage your emotions, things of that nature. So I'm really big into developing myself all the time, not just myself, but my business. I have up on my computer screen, you guys can't see it, but literally right before I was researching on LegalZoom's website, tax information about LLCs, because I have an LLC, and what does it look like from last year to this year? What things can I claim because I worked from home last year? You know, those type of things. So I'm always developing. I'm always getting on boards. I'm on, like, I believe about 4 advisory boards right now. They take about, an hour of my time each month. That's only about 4 hours, but they bring me so much value. I'm learning from that. I'm learning about grants. I'm learning about different opportunities that are coming out. I'm being of service to my community by helping these advisory boards, because they ultimately go out and help the community. And then I would say, as far as professional development, I'm always in school. I literally take classes all the time. I just took a University of Florida. I can't think of the actual, I can see the imagery in my head for their symbol, but it was the University of Florida. I forget which department, but they just had a diversity and equity free certificate that you could take for about 7 or 8 weeks, I believe. I just did that. So I'm always doing things like that because I want to keep growing and learning in my field. Even if I get out of the field of public health, I want to always still be in the know about what it is that I like, which is human behavior, diversity and equity, cultural competence, being a boss, being a business owner, things of that nature. So I would say that that's how I'm continuously learning.
And kudos to you, and that's what it's about. And there's no rule that says that you have to have a formal training, especially since you're choosing to be an entrepreneur, and so you're choosing to create your own path and your own lane, and staying in your lane and finding what works for you. And I'm glad that you mentioned a lot of free certification courses as well. So in addition to, I believe you said University of Florida?
University of Florida just had that diversity and equity and inclusion certificate. Johns Hopkins has a lot of free things that they were given during the pandemic. I haven't looked back to see if they're still offering that, but last year there was a lot of courses you could take. I've done contact tracing before in my previous jobs, obviously, but I took a free contact tracing course through Johns Hopkins. And Coursera. That's a website for all those that don't know. It's COURSERA. And they have a lot of courses on there, public health specific. You can look for anything. You can look for business. You can look for fashion. You can look for public health, but they have a lot of classes to offer as well. And sometimes they're $25. Sometimes they're free. It just depends.
Mm-hmm. And also CDC, USAID, in addition to Johns Hopkins, Harvard, and these don't have to necessarily be public health courses, in business and just anything that you want. There's usually, it's basically you seek and you shall find.
Yep.
Yes. And everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. This is a quick chat, and Connections with Shawnta is designed to be that way, to be just a quick chat. Thanks for taking time out of your morning, your afternoon, or depending on where you're at in the world, maybe even your evening. Every Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, join me on YouTube. And I don't know who my guest is next week. I have to look at my calendar, but I'm pretty sure it's really engaging. Actually, I think it's the president of the United Way of Maryland, I think is my guest next week. But yeah, everyone check out, this is our first episode today with Alisa. And so we've had some pretty amazing people from different fields, not just public health, but just different fields in general. And so I look forward to continuing to connect with you all. And if you want to connect with Alisa on on LinkedIn, excuse me, I blanked out for a second. If you want to connect with Alisa on LinkedIn, this is her name, Alisa Howard. And actually her LinkedIn profile, CHW1 is added to it. So it's Alisa Howard, CHW1, Community Health Worker. And then my LinkedIn profile name is Shawnta Jackson, MPH. So again, connect with us on LinkedIn. I do respond to my messages, and I am available to serve as a resource in the best way that I can and that fits in my capacity, and I'm sure Alisa is as well. And you can also visit Alisa's website at alisahoward.com. And finally, thank you to my sponsor for today, Ambient Journeys. My favorite travel agent is Amber Jackson of Ambient Journeys, and you can learn more at ambientjourneys.com. Everyone, have a great day. Thank you.